Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Councilmember Gibson, I'm still not quite sure what you all as participants can and cannot see, but Councilmember Gibson made a great point that some people may be dealing with some power issues after the storm. But we are recording this and we will make it available on the public input site for anyone who is having difficulties or who just maybe doesn't have access to internet on a regular basis. So this meeting will be available. It'll stay up there. Our information is at the end of it if they need to contact us with any questions. So let's get started. I will turn on my camera so you can meet me. So my name is Alan Reed. I am the traffic operations engineer for the city of Greenville, and I run the traffic calming program. Helping me tonight is Celeste Smith. She is our admin, and she will just be handling some of the logistics of running a virtual meeting. And we will start by going through a couple of participation notes and how to participate on WebEx. So this is hopefully what the right side of your screen looks like right now. If not, here we go. If not, there are two buttons on the bottom right-hand corner, participants and Q&A, that should bring up these two panels. What I'm going to do is run through the presentation, and if you have any questions along the way, feel free to type them in the Q&A box here, and we will answer questions at the end. If you would rather, instead of typing, if you'd rather speak up and ask your question that way or make your comment that way, there's a raise hand button. If you click it, a little hand will appear next to your name for us, and that's how we'll know that you would like to say something. If you change your mind or I've answered your question or something and you no longer want to speak, I think if you just click the button again, it should go away. Everybody came into the meeting muted by default. At the end, when we go to ask questions, I will unmute you and give you an opportunity to speak. That way, it just keeps kind of some of the noise from distracting us during the presentation. And when I call on you and unmute you, your screen will then look like this. The mute button will have a little green microphone on it, and that means we can all hear you, so you can go ahead with your question. All right, so let's dive in, and I do want to recognize that I want to thank Councilmember Dow and Councilmember Gibson for joining us tonight and giving us your time, participating with us. So let's start with the map of the study area. So this is the map. I'm trying to rearrange my windows here so I can see. All right. As I'm sure you know, that the County Square development is just to the north here. There are the green dots on the map represent existing speed humps. So you can see there are two on Haynie Street, one on Howe, and two on Chicora. And the brown dots are the landscape medians. There are two of those on Haynie Street. Here we go. So a little bit about the process. We will do a deep dive on some of these going forward. So this is just a brief overview of how traffic calming works. First, generally starts by somebody calling and requesting a speed hump on their street, and we send them an application. Once they fill it out and get it back to us, we send them the information for a petition. The petition is 50% of the address points have to be represented, have to have signatures represented on the petition to move on to the next step. And then once that is completed, we schedule the kickoff meeting, which is where we are today. So from here, after tonight, we will collect data throughout the study area and then put together a plan with the neighborhood for which traffic calming devices you would like to see where. Once that is finalized, we will put it to a vote by the neighborhood, and then whatever is approved will be scheduled for installation. So a little bit about the data collection. We will, like I said, we'll collect data on almost every street. Generally, like dead-end streets, we tend to skip just to save us time. But the data we're looking for is the average speed, the 85th percentile speed, which is 6 out of every 7 vehicles would be going that speed or lower. That's what the 85th percentile speed represents. So if it's 35, that means 6 out of every 7 vehicles are going that speed or slower. And then also the average daily volume. We collect data, our counters put them down for 48 hours, and we only put them down on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or we only collect data on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and only during the school year to capture what we consider normal traffic. So then we'll move on to the plan development. Once the data is collected, I will send it to the study team. The study team is made up of volunteers from the neighborhood. So to sign up, we're going to use the same public input site that you use to register for the meeting. The link is shown right here, publicinput.com/Greenville-SC Haynie Street. And you should also receive a follow-up email after this meeting with the link and the prompting you to sign up for the study team if you would like. We like to have a good representative group of volunteers, ideally one person from every street, and it works best generally with about 5 or 6 people. If you get groups any larger than that, it's hard to get everybody together at one time. So please take the opportunity to sign up after the meeting. So yeah, that group will be responsible for putting the plan together. And I will send you the data, and what that data is going to tell you both what's going on the streets and which streets are eligible. To be eligible, a street has to have at least 300 vehicles per day, but no more than 2,500 vehicles per day. We do make an exception for the 300 rule. It can have fewer than 300 if the 85th percentile speed exceeds the speed limit by 10 miles per hour. And then things that go in the plan, we have a long list of traffic calming devices, but generally the only things selected are speed humps and landscape islands. You see examples of those pictured here. So here's the list of all of the traffic calming devices. Each column represents an additional level of approval that's required. Things like speed humps would only require a neighborhood vote, while if you wanted to do a traffic circle, that would require it to be approved on a neighborhood vote and then being given engineering approval. And then for something, if you wanted to lay down textured pavement or something like that, then that would require a neighborhood vote, engineering approval, and then council approval. So once that plan is finalized and we settle on all the locations, and I go back and forth with the study team and give them feedback on their plan. Usually it starts with something like, we want 2 speed humps on this street and 1 on this street, and I help them dial in right where we want to put those and what we want to put on the ballot. And that's the next thing, is the vote, the ballot. So the language on the ballot generally is something like install 1 speed hump at or near 100 Main Street or whatever. And that's the level of detail we'll get the plan down to. So once the ballot's finalized, we'll put it out to the vote. And just so you know, each item is voted on individually. So either any sum of the items on the ballot can pass. If there are 10, then if only 7 receive approval, then only 7 will be installed. And then to pass, it has to receive a 70% yes vote, and that's based on the number of votes we receive, not on the number that we send out. Who's eligible to vote? Anyone who's over the age of 18 or anyone with a valid driver's license. In the past, we've mailed out a paper ballot, but with this public input site, we are trying to make that a virtual vote. But we will still mail out a notice that the vote is happening and instructions on how to participate. and we will make paper ballots available upon request. So once the vote is completed, we generally allow about 2 to 3 weeks for ballots or for the vote, and then whatever gets approved will be scheduled for installation. And generally, people want to know how long it takes to get the things that were approved. It has a lot to do with how many speed humps are in the hopper. Right now, I think we're still working down on our list of 30 or 40 speed humps to install. And budget constraints can come into play. You're not fiscally constrained on what you want to put in your plan, but we may have to space it out over multiple budget years if if it's more expensive. So, for example, we had a neighborhood approve 20 speed humps, and that would have taken up our entire traffic calming budget, and we would have been able to do any other neighborhood. So we phased it over 3 years. So they got 7 the first year, 7 second year, and 6 the third year. And then once we get to it, each speed hump takes a week to install. You can see these guys working hard to piece together the rubberized speed humps. Those things weigh like 50 pounds each or something, and all those little holes you see are anchors that have to be drilled into the pavement. So it is a little bit time consuming, but these things are a consistent product. They're built to last, and we've had really good feedback, really good success with them. And if you go for a landscape island, those generally take a day to pour the concrete and then another day to do the plantings. And that's pretty much all I've got. Here is the link again to the public input site if you need it. And here's my information, my email address, and our phone number if you need that. And we will open the floor to questions. I will check the Q&A box and see if there are any questions in there. I do not see any right now. There's a hand raised. Let's, Carol Dietrich, go ahead with your question.
Hi, Alan. Thank you very much for doing this for us.
Sure.
My question is, as you pointed out, we already have speed bumps. What is the minimum? How often could we put a speed bump out there? Is there a
good question
distance between?
Yeah, we generally aim for at least 400 feet between speed humps, and about 100 feet for an uncontrolled intersection approach, and 150 feet for a stop sign approach. Does that make sense?
No, explain that stop
sure.
sign.
Yeah. So if you like on Haynie Street where it approaches Howell, there's no stop sign. So you could be 100 feet from that intersection. But if you were on Howell Street, that does have a stop sign. So we'd have to be 150 feet from the stop sign.
Okay. But between them, like on Haynie, we have to be 400 feet.
400. That's our target.
Yeah. So would you say that we have the maximum out there?
So right now, yeah, because of the islands on either end. If you want to do something crazy like rip it all out and start over, we haven't done that before, but I'm not going to say we can't do it. If we did do it, we would have to do it as one ballot item, either rip it all out and do 3 or 4, however many we can fit, or do nothing. Leave what's there. We wouldn't rip it out and only put in 1 or something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I guess what it means is that whatever we want to add to this is going to need a higher level of approval than just neighborhood vote, right?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about all the details of what you're looking for once we get down to it. Once we get to that step in the process. But if it's just speed humps, I think we can work something out.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
And if that answers your question, if you don't mind hitting the raise hand button again, so I don't come back to you or if you have another question, I'll know to come back to you.
I'm good.
Let's see. There's something in the Q&A. Can speed humps be updated with the new material? The current speed humps are not very effective. They're quite smooth. That I don't know. It's not something that we've done in the past, and I don't imagine if we were going to do it that we would require the neighborhood to vote on it. I think that would just be a one-to-one replacement. We don't have a program to do that exactly. No procedure on how to tackle that, but we can discuss it. We can go down that road if that's something y'all would like to explore. Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Kyle, go ahead.
Oh, thank you for organizing this. So could you give us a sense of, you outlined the steps of what's going to happen next. Could you give us a sense of how long that process takes up to the final recommendation and approval?
Yeah, it's really mostly dependent on the study team and how quickly they can put together a plan. There's one neighborhood ahead of you on data collection. So, and we only have 3 sets of counters, so we can only count 3 streets at a time. And so it'll take 2 to 3 weeks to get all the data collected once we get to you. So I'd expect within the next 6 to 8 weeks to get data to you. Maybe a little bit longer because of the holidays, because we don't want to count on holiday weeks. But once we get that to you, it's up to the study team to put together the plan, and that can take a month. That can take 6 months. It's just a matter of how focused the study team is. Sometimes it falls by the wayside and they pick it back up, but that's generally the deciding factor. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. This question in the Q&A box: are you taking into consideration on the count process that school traffic is not at a normal flow due to COVID? We have a lot of Greenville high traffic. We haven't done a traffic calming study. That's a good question. We haven't done a traffic calming study since the COVID pandemic started. So I'm not sure how to answer that question yet. I mean, we will certainly consider it. So if a street is close to the 300, we'll probably say that we'll allow it on that street because it would typically have more traffic during normal times. But we will have that conversation once we get the data back. But it's certainly will be factored in. Ms. Dietrich, I see you have your hand raised again. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, thank you. So as maybe you know, one of our issues is the huge truck volume that we have going up and down. We're talking 18-wheelers, lots of them. And we're talking dump trucks, the big construction dump trucks. Is there anything within the power of this process to deter or limit that kind of truck traffic?
Not as a part of this process. It's not designed to specifically restrict trucks. Generally, if you put enough speed humps out there, they'll go another way. But we have done truck restrictions, and I'm assuming you're referring to Haynie that has the truck traffic.
Yes.
Okay. We have done, and that's a state road, if I'm not mistaken. We have done truck restrictions on state roads, and are currently working on a handful of them. So if our counts will come back and they'll show the truck percentage, and we can kind of go off of that. I'll make a note to include that when I send you the data, and we can see what can be done about that. But it doesn't need to go through this process. That follows a different process.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure. Another comment, another question in the question box. Can you comment on the time lag required between if a petition does not pass? My concern is if the traffic calming plan is made before the impact of the county square comes into play. Yeah, so if you make it to the vote and the vote for whatever reason fails, and you didn't get what you wanted, there is a 3-year waiting period from the time that vote closes before the process can be started again. And so that really makes it important that you communicate the plan to the neighborhood on what get neighborhood buy-in so that everybody's on board and you get the approval you want. So I don't know if County Square will play a role in that waiting period if things start to pick up there, some projects get done and traffic starts to pick up. If we couldn't revisit it sooner, they don't pay me enough to make those decisions. So we'll have to elevate that to somebody else on if we could shorten that waiting period for some reason. But I don't think I have the authority to decide that at this point, but we could certainly have that conversation down the road. Anything else? Any other questions, comments, concerns? Well, if you feel so inclined, if you want to participate, go to the public input site. I will activate the study team sign up so that you can jump on board. And once we get the data out, you'll be off and running. So again, this should send you an email if you don't have a pen next to you or something to write it down. It should send you an email afterwards with this information. If you know anybody who couldn't be here tonight, who, like I said, doesn't regularly have access to internet, we want to make sure that everybody can still be included in the process. So we will be posting the video. It'll take a few days to trim the video down to a manageable size and get it uploaded on the public input site, but it will be up there. It'll stay up there. So if anybody wants to watch it and they have any questions, our information, my information's right here, and we'll certainly get them plugged in if they would like to do so. So if anybody has any more questions, oh, here we go. Will a third-party traffic engineer be evaluating further from the county's development? I can't remember off the top of my head how that one landed as a part of the planning process. They do have improvements that they will be held to. I don't have that in front of me, but as projects progress, as more stuff comes online up there, they are required to do certain improvements to the roadway. And they do have their own traffic consultant who is in charge of doing that. I think that's what you're referring to. And let me know if that doesn't answer your question. You can reach out to me if you'd like more information. We have ongoing concerns about the amount of traffic coming our way. Is there a plan to inform on how traffic mitigation will be handled? Again, that I'm not sure how that's going to be handled. I'm sure we will do our best to keep the public informed of what's going on with County Square. It's such a huge undertaking that I know there will be plenty of public outreach as it progresses. So we will certainly do our best to keep you informed on what's coming, what traffic mitigation is required. But I don't I don't exactly know the vehicle for that at this point. If it'll be sort of like the Planning Commission, if it'll go through there and be open for public comment like that, or if there will be some sort of newsletter maybe to sign up with. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. So, but I'm certain the city will do our very best to keep you informed. All right. If anybody thinks of something, are they're too shy to speak on WebEx, feel free to email me or call us. We'll be happy to talk to you. But if there are no further questions, then I guess that's it. Everybody have a great night.